Welcome back to the Raider Log Episode 4. Host Coach Tyler DeHart. Today we got
Coach Chris, Linebacker's coach.
So, Coach Chris, obviously you graduated from here 2017, same class as I was. We came in, left at the same year. How's it feel being back at Orange Park High School?
It feels pretty good. Be back at the old high school. Feels good to be giving back in some type of way, shape, or form. And it feels good to see the progress of the program.
Yeah, so, excuse me. So, obviously, as this will be your second year coaching in general, how's your experiences been so far?
It's been great. It makes me reminisce a little bit. Makes me remember how much I love the game, being around the game just in general. I love all of it. Love being around the kids, love seeing their development. And just overall, just being around football, I love it.
Sure. As far as this upcoming year, obviously spring game right around the corner, then going into summer and fall. What would you say you're kind of looking forward to the most?
I'm just looking to see where we're at, looking to learn more as a coach, looking to learn more players better, learning the players better. Obviously, with the new program coming in as a new coach, just learning how the players are, see how they learn, see what best fits them.
Yeah, and always developing is a big thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You meet with new guys, you always can learn new things. You're never good with where you're at. You always want to progress, even as a coach, just like you expect the kids to as well. What about pregame music? You can talk about when you were playing. Talk about now. What's your go-to?
Oh, now we're going straight Roman Reigns.
Roman Reigns?
Tribal Chief.
Tribal Chief. All
And
right.
second, probably have to go with Brock Lesnar.
So we on a WWE playlist, huh?
Yes, sir.
So if we're on a WWE playlist, who would you say your favorite all-time wrestler is? Currently, I would assume Roman Reigns.
Right now, Roman Reigns, but all time, I'd have to go Undertaker.
And my Undertaker.
He's just, if you're just going like overall, he gave a lot to that business, and he really entertained you as a kid.
Yeah.
He never broke character.
No.
That's one of the guys that just never broke character, no matter where he was at.
Yeah, I feel like most every kid kind of goes through that phase where they're big WWE fans, and then you might even grow out of the phase. Like I know I grew out of the phase and was like, WWE's terrible. And then you get to an adult, and it's like it kind of sucks you back in, and you're like right back into it. End up watching pay-per-views every month or whatever it is, and or PLEs, whatever they call them. But yeah, the Undertaker, I always heard he was a good leader, good locker room leader. He's kind of one of those guys you expect those guys in football as well. Guys that lead in the locker room, lead by their action. They're there every day, work hard, so on and so forth. So WrestleMania is right around the corner.
Yes, sir.
Anything, obviously, Roman Reigns, you pick Roman Reigns to retain.
Of course. But I hope that he retains. But with all what's going on from Friday Night SmackDown, Monday Night Raw, it's 50-50.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on. I know The Rock just came back. You got a lot of hype going around wrestling right now, and wrestling is cool again, supposedly.
The final boss.
Final boss and stuff. So it seems like they got things going in the right direction, and people are probably kind of hopping back on that bandwagon, or not bandwagon, but hopping back on watching it again and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
What about, like, college football? You kind of...
Yeah, me personally, I'm more into the college level than I am the NFL level.
Okay.
I'm straight dogs all the way.
Georgia?
Straight dogs.
Why Georgia?
Well, my dad, he was just a Georgia fan, so I kind of just followed behind him.
So obviously a lot of recent success.
Finally.
Yeah, it's been a while, right? It was the 80s when they last won it, I think.
Oh, yeah.
But then you got they went back-to-back the past, or 2 years ago, and then last year they obviously had success losing to Alabama kind of hindered that at the end of the year. How do you feel about Kirby Smart?
I love what he's done with the program. I think before they even step on the field, he sets the standard within that program from the locker room to the field and how the players should carry themselves. And he demands excellence, and that's what they should bring every single day. And I think a lot of programs and football players should follow that, what he has going on and what them Georgia players do, because the success don't come easy. Them guys probably put in a lot of time within training, weight room, film, just getting better overall, and it shows on the field on Saturdays.
Yeah, you got guys that are obviously trying to improve on the field, going to practice every day, but even when they're not at practice, they're still, like you said, watching film or studying their playbook, and obviously it's a lot more it's a lot more in depth than high school football.
Oh yeah.
But still, you can try to mirror some of that success or some of those examples back to high school football, and having kids buy into what you're trying to teach, and going home and watching film or going home and studying their playbook. So that's time that you don't have to waste at practice necessarily. Like, hey, we gotta reteach all these things 7 different times because it's taking you that long to figure it out, right? So you kind of take that initiative on yourself.
Yeah, you should be ready to go by the time practice field comes.
For sure.
By the time we get to Monday, you should know what that team's going to be coming with, what formations they're going to be in, what they love to run. You should know that as a player. As soon as Saturday morning comes, watch your Friday night film, but you should also be hopping on that next week film.
Yeah, you got to be a student of the game at some point. You can't just just be a player on the field. You gotta understand what you're being asked and what you need to do to help your team succeed, right?
You can't just rely on the coaches to give it to you. You got to want it for yourself.
100%. So, as an alumni, going back to that, what was your favorite moment being here? Obviously, I know you weren't here your sophomore and junior year.
I was here junior.
Junior year, so just sophomore. You didn't play junior because of injury, right?
Yep.
So, freshman, junior, if that has to be something, and then senior year, what would have been your favorite moment?
I'd say favorite moment was senior year against Yulee. Game came down to the wire on that one.
Yeah.
I'm sure you remember, and I believe it was a 4th down play, and we was right on the 20-yard line. It was a packed game. Crowd was into it, and we ended up getting a stop on that 4th down play, and ultimately we won the game. That probably had to be one of my favorite moments as a Raider.
Yeah, I think going back to that year, we had a lot of ups and downs, and it was very wavy sometimes, and a lot of guys that would miss practices or not be there. But I think if we would have shown that committed mentality that we're asking of our kids, then things might have been a little better in certain spots. But I look back. I always think back to the Clay game. I try to kind of pick some games out, and the Clay game always sticks out to me. I feel like Clay had a really good team that year. I think they had 3 D1 guys on that team.
Yep, they had Colin Wilson.
Blau was Blau there, or was Blau the year before?
I think it was year before, but they had
Jared was there still. Jared Leeds, who ended up going to Georgia Southern.
I think they had a receiver that ended up going somewhere like the next year.
Yeah, and then I know they had some younger guys, but we had a close game, and that came down to the wire. We had a fake punt that was attempted.
Should let the people know about that story.
Yeah, so it was like 4th and 10, and we had a big D tackle that was our punt return shield guy. And they ended up calling their own fake punt. Our coach didn't call it. We called it on the field, or they called it on the field, and ended up not working out too well. Our D tackle thought it was 4th and short. Long story short, we ended up not getting in, and kind of was our downfall to the rest of the game. But that goes into guys buying into what you're asking them, and not necessarily doing their own thing, right? And coming up with random things to do on game day.
There was a moment of selfishness on his part because that changed. That would probably, you never know, that could have changed the aspect of the game.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big moment. I think we were on probably the 50-yard line about to punt, hopefully down them inside the 20 maybe, and then defense gets a stop. They were playing really well, but you turn around and you do that, and then it struggles from there. So college football this upcoming year. Do you have any projections about how things go? Maybe not just necessarily Georgia, maybe some sleepers that you might see shock some people.
I'm not really sure because, they're going to that new format.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see what happens this year.
I think the first round being a on-campus game. So if you have Georgia as the 1 seed or 2 seed, and then they have to play whoever, Colorado or whatever, for instance, and instead of meeting neutral site, now Colorado has to travel to Athens and play there. I think that can cause some issues, but upset. I'd like to see how Colorado does. Obviously, I think the aura that Dion brings to that team and the momentum that they have going around them and how things are kind of changing. I can kind of see we almost have that going here. The things we're doing. I feel like we're innovating with the podcast, right? We're innovating. We're doing a lot of social media stuff, which not many teams do. So I kind of see us just on that standard as far as
moving in that direction.
Yeah,
what they're doing.
And I'd like to see how they can kind of turn that around. I think they have some pretty decent talent, especially Travis Hunter and Shadur.
Well, they're also in a new conference this year. They'll be in the Big 12 this year.
Yeah, they're going back to the Big 12 this year. So
I think that'd be a lot better for them, program-wise.
Yeah, it's more – I think the Big 12 is held to a higher standard than the Pac-12. And also the Big 12's a lot of brand new teams this year, right? Or was UCF in it last year?
They've been, I think, either this would be year 3 or year 2.
Okay, so then and then Cincinnati coming in, like you got a lot of new teams coming in there and showing relevancy in that program. But then you also have, or in that conference, but then you also have your 2 powers, Texas and Oklahoma, leaving. So it's time for like that new team to step up and take over.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that conference does because, Texas and Oklahoma, they've kind of dominated the conference for numbers of years now. It's also going to be interesting to see how Oklahoma and Texas transition into the SEC this year.
Yeah, especially I think they're both in the West.
Well, I think the SEC's gone away with the East and the West.
So they've done like Ohio State or like the Big Ten has, where there's no East-West anymore. So that's probably the best because you have so many good teams that it's like you kind of hinder things where for years if you had Georgia and Florida on the same side, they one beat the other one, but they're the 2 best teams in the conference. Only one of them gets that shot, which is kind of tough. Which the Big Ten did that this year. So now you have, instead of the West being Purdue making it to the Big Ten championship, while Ohio State or Penn State are like 11-1 with a loss to Michigan or whatever it be, now it's just the top 2 teams get to go.
Yeah.
So I think that's better for college football, honestly.
I think it'll be more competitive.
Yeah, you get the best team or best 2 teams from the conference for sure, getting a matchup, even if it is a repeat matchup. You get that second look at that.
I think you play more different teams more often too.
For sure.
Because like this year you got Georgia, they got Texas on the schedule. They got a tough one this year. They got Bama on the schedule, Texas, Auburn.
Yeah.
Got to see how Florida does this year.
I was about to say it's not as rough as Florida's schedule. Florida's schedule is rough.
Yeah, that one's pretty rough this year. Billy Napier might be in some trouble this year.
Yeah, I don't know. That schedule is rough. Going back to kind of what we have going on, what are we doing in the upcoming months that are kind of propelling us forward, getting us ready for summer and then fall?
Like conditioning wise?
Yeah, or just anything. What are we doing outside of football? What are we doing inside?
Outside of football, we got a lot of fundraising going on right now, trying to do renovations to the field house that is very needed. A lot of this stuff had needed to be done when I was in high school.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially like flooring, weights, racks, the whole 9 yards. I think the only thing that got replaced when we was in high school was the locker room.
Yeah, the locker room, and I think a few of the platforms are new, but for the most part, those are all the same platforms, and they're older than when we were here, so it's not even like they just got there when we were here, right? So like the racks have been here for God knows how long, and so on and so forth. So yeah, we're running our fundraising campaign. It's OP 90 for 90 for any companies or individuals that are feeling willing to help out and donate. Anything helps, and we're trying to improve everything we got going on. We also have a kids summer camp coming up in June that you can sign up on the OPHS athletics page for. I know for football we're running a bunch of 7-on-7s, trying to prepare our kids for that. Obviously summer conditioning, putting work in there. Is there any necessary games that you're looking forward to for next year?
Say the game that I'm looking forward to the most probably be, I'd say Mandarin. The Kickoff Classic, mainly because that's the hot team right now.
For sure.
Around the 904 area. So that's a competition. You should want to be able to go against the best and see where you're at, compete with the best. You don't want to go out there and just compete with mediocre. You want to go out there and see where you're at, see if you can hang with them. And if you can hang, you can hang, and you got it. I think that'd be a good confidence booster for the kids.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's seeing if you can play to that standard and setting that expectation that this is the standard, this is what we expect. So we should be able to compete with this, and if we can compete with that, we should be able to compete in every game. There shouldn't be an issue.
No.
If not win most. You know what I mean? So yeah, I agree, Mandarin, and then for me also the Oakleaf game. Obviously going back to high school, and we
they call it Ridgeview's Battle of Blanding.
Yeah, it used to be Battle of O or something. I don't know. But yeah, so back in high school, we never got to beat Ridgeview. I think Oakleaf. The last time we beat Oakleaf was our freshman year.
Yeah, it was about what?
It was 2013.
This year, yeah, that'd be 10 years now.
Yeah,
going on 11.
So looking forward to that game. Hopefully we can spin that around, and obviously it's always good to play a rival school right down the road and get that rivalry back on track. Hopefully.
Yeah, get it big again. 'Cause I remember that was the game that everybody looked forward to.
For sure. Right at the beginning of the game. Right at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm. That and usually Ridgeview game.
Yeah.
That was another big one to do, though. I'm not sure if they still call it the Battle of Blanding, but I know when we was in school, that's what they called it, the Battle of Blanding, and it has to mean something.
For sure.
take pride in that.
For sure. You got anything else to talk about? Any other comments?
No, just acknowledge your tribal chief. That's really it, guys.
Acknowledge your tribal chief.
There you go.
All right, well, Coach Chris, appreciate you coming on. That's the end of our episode 4, and we'll catch y'all on the next one.